So this is the second day of our PowerPoint. This is on expressions, formulas, and equations, and this is example number 12. So please find example number 12. There is more than one way to solve this. So I'm going to go over a few different ways on the next 2 to 3 problems. So one way to do this is to please look at these numbers right now. Please underline the 3, 4, and 5. And the first question you're going to ask yourself is, can you think of a number that 3, 4, and 5 all divide into nicely? If you can, awesome. But if it doesn't pop into your head, grab the calculator. If it doesn't immediately come in, and you're going to take 3 times 4 times 5. It's not necessary to repeat the 3 and duplicate any number. So I know that 3, 4, and 5 all nicely divide into 60. Okay? So first I ask myself, is it possible for me to come up with one on my own? And if not, I multiply. Put parentheses around the entire thing and put a 60 out front. And realistically, I should do the 60 to both sides, but this will work. 60 divided by 4 is 15. 60 divided by 4 is 15. And 15 times the top number 3 is 45. Bringing down the z. 60 divided by 3 is 20. And 20 times the top number of -1 is -20. 60 divided by 3 on the right-hand side, 60 divided by 3 is 20. 20 times 2 is 40. And 60 divided by 5 is 12, and 12 times 1 is 12. Okay, on your own, at your own pace, please solve for z while I do it silently. Whether you write your answer in this case as a fraction in reduced form, or you choose to leave it as a decimal, that's fine. But the decimal must terminate, which means it must end and you're not having to round it. Can I have right now a 1 through 5? 5 means I understand how this problem went. A 1 means I'm totally confused. On a 1 through 5 scale, can you please raise your hands up so I see where we are as a class? Okay. Got it? Please go on right now and look at number 13. So with number 13, we're going to ask ourselves the exact same question again. And the question is, as I write it down, can you please circle 5, 9, and 90? Those are the denominators in the problem. Okay, so for for example number 13, you're going to ask yourself, can you think of a number that 5, 9, and 90 all go into? And you think for a while. Some of you may have already come to you. And if not, you could do 5 times 9 times 90. Remember, you don't need to duplicate any numbers like 5. And wow, that's a big number, 4,050. Can anybody think of a number that 5, 9, and 90 all go into? 90. Okay. So this is going to have just a little different way to solving this. We could do it just like example 12, but we don't have to. I want to make each one of the denominators a 90. So to do that, I'm going to take 90 divided by 5. 90 divided by 5 is 18. I'm going to multiply both the top and the bottom by 18. My goal is to get the denominator in every single group here to be 90. So now 18 times 5 is 90, and like I already have a 90 here. I know 9 times 10 is 90. Whatever you multiply in the bottom, you must multiply on top in order to keep this value the same. And just like I did in the first group, I know that 5 times 18 is 90. Now I have 90 in every single portion or in every single denominator in this problem. Once it's all the same in the bottom, we get to wipe out the bottom, eliminating the fractions, which makes our life easier. 18 times 2 is 36. Attach the s. 1 times 10 is 10. Bring down the subtraction sign. I have a 2s. And 18 times 3, can you check my math? I believe it's 54. Okay, on your own, I'm going to silently solve this. I'd like you to do the same. I came up with an answer of 64 over 34, but I know it's not reduced because they are both even. You may not be used to using this calculator. Can you please type in 64 divided by 34? This is a simple way that we will use throughout the year to reduce fractions. Find the button that says Math. It's right below the green alpha button. Press it once. And this is abbreviation for fraction. Now go to the bottom right-hand corner and find the Enter button and press it twice. It reduces it for us. 32 over 17. Now if you plug in 32 over 17, you can see this answer is not as pretty, right? It's just not a simple fraction. And for that purpose, we don't want you rounding a decimal unless the directions ask you to. So we're going to keep this answer as a fraction. Okay, 14 gave students a lot of trouble today, but it is something you learned in 7th and 8th grade. Let's see if you can do it while I take time to write it out. There is more than one way to solve this. This is the way I prefer. To eliminate this fraction so I can isolate the w, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal of this fraction, which is negative 8/5. A common misconception is people think they just, in terms of they think they eliminate and they just disappear. That's not actually what happens. 5 divided by 5 is 1, 8 divided by 8 is 1, and the negatives, a negative times a negative is just a positive 1. So in fact, they really just turn into a 1, we just don't see them. So w equals, and now you can reduce if you'd like, so you could go 5 goes into itself once, and 24 times, or you could grab a calculator and multiply the fraction times 20. Regardless, you should get a final answer of negative 32. Raise of hands. Did anybody else get negative 32 in the time I provided you? Okay. Does anybody have questions about this problem? Okay, we're going to go on to the next problem that is probably the most difficult. It is a problem that's going to be on your homework, as well as having a problem like this on your next quiz, your first quiz of the year. Okay, so our goal is to solve for C. So can you please put a little arrow above the C? Our goal is to isolate the C. So on the right-hand side that contains the C, there's currently a square root that's going over the entire problem on the right-hand side. An opposite of square root is squaring. So if I square both sides, I'm going to eliminate the square root. And I'm going to continue to put the little arrow above the C because this problem is quite complex. Now on the right-hand side, there's 4 groups. There's the S minus A, that's your second group, the S minus B, that's your third group, and the S minus C. My goal is to get this S minus C by itself so that eventually I can just isolate and have C by itself. Now each one of these other 3 groups that lies in front of this 4th group is stuck together by what operation? And what's opposite of multiplying? Okay, we're going to divide both sides by S times S minus A times S minus B. And the S's, the S minus A's, and S minus B's, in fact, we say they go away, but really they turn into a 1. And I'm left with S minus C equals this quantity. Okay, so now to get rid of a positive S, opposite of positive S is a negative S. So I'm going to subtract S to both sides, and I take the exact same quantity I have, and behind it I'm just going to subtract the S. Okay, so right here is sitting a negative 1, and we have two different ways to get rid of that negative 1. We can either multiply both sides by negative 1, or we could do the opposite operation of dividing by negative 1. But either way, there's a trick. Whenever you divide by a negative, what happens to your original problem? Anybody? You change the sign, right? So if this group right here is currently positive, when I divide by negative 1, it's going to become negative. And if this group right here is negative, it will become positive. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 1 and realize what that does is it changes the signs of the group. This group right here is currently positive, so it becomes negative. And this group in back was negative, it now becomes positive. Okay, there's a person across from you in the first two rows. Look at the person across from you. Person across from you, I know you're on your own right now. Here in the third or fourth row, you have a person that's across from you. Over here, you have a person that's across from you. You two are going to talk. I don't care who decides to move. With your current partner, knowing that this is the hardest problem you'll see today, knowing you have a problem like this on your homework tomorrow, and you have a problem like this on Friday's checkpoint quiz, I want you to talk to your partner, what part is confusing you, and see if your partner can help you and vice versa. 45 seconds, go ahead. You don't need to move your desk, just talking to that person. 10 seconds remaining. Okay, this next problem, here we go. So take a look at number 16. Read just the first paragraph to yourself on your paper, please. Read the first paragraph to yourself on your paper. It says the Sunshine Skyway Bridge spans Tampa Bay, Florida. And suppose that one crew began working south of St. Petersburg and another crew began working north of Bratton. The two crews met in the middle, 10,560 feet from St. Petersburg, and it took approximately 5 years for construction to finish. So I have something that looks like this. Can you please do the same for me? I'm not artistic, by the way. You'll probably have already noticed that. But I know that they both completed 10,560 feet of the bridge. And we have two different crews. This is Crew Bradenton, and this is Crew St. Petersburg. And it says, suppose that St. Petersburg crew built an average of 176 feet per month. Together, the two crews built 21,120 feet of the bridge. Determine the average number of feet built per month. Okay, so if they both split this, we're going to take this portion right here. We're going to take this portion, because I know the entire thing is 21,120. Can you add those two up for me and see if you get this exact number? Can you add up these two numbers and see if you get the exact number? Can anybody confirm that? Yes or no? Okay, that means they did meet directly in the middle. Okay, and so with this, I know that to figure out the average, let's first talk about traveling down the car. If you're with a parent and you're going down the freeway and somebody says, well, how fast was your mom driving? And you say 72, what are you saying? 72 what? It's generally preceded by something else. 72 miles per hour. So it's the distance over time. So distance over time. And we want to know, determine the average number of feet per month. So the distance is going to be in terms of feet, and the time is going to be in terms of months. Now we've already figured out that it's halfway, so the distance is 10,560 feet, but it tells us it takes 5 years for them to complete that portion. 5 years, but the units they want us to answer in are in terms of months. So grab a calculator. What is 5 years equivalent to in terms of months? Okay, please take 10,560 and divide it by 60. Thank you. 176. What do I need to also put behind it? Feet per month. Awesome. Part A is completed. Approximately how many miles of the bridge did each crew build? Well, we know they built an equal distance, so that's the easy part. Now, there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. So if we take the total distance that one of the crews completed, 10,560, and we divide it by how many feet we know are in a mile, please figure that out for me. Does anybody have an answer? Is it approximately 2 or exactly 2? It's exactly 2. So crew B here, which was the Bratton crew, they completed 2 miles of the bridge, and St. Petersburg crew also completed 2 miles of the bridge. Okay? They completed an equal distance of the bridge. We're now going to go down to example number 17. Now, 17 confused a lot of students, so I'd like you to first read it to yourself, and then please put your pencil or pen down. Read it to yourself, and then put your writing utensil down. We're going to translate words here into equations. Over the top of the word has, let's put an equal sign. Bob has. That means what Bob owes, or sorry, what Bob has is equal to something. So Bob is equal to 3 times the amount of money that Amy has. So I'm going to write Bob equals 3 times Amy. And then the next one says Sam has, so Sam equals 5 more than. When you see the word then, this number needs to go at the end. So 5 more than what Bob has. Sam has 5 more than Bob. Now before I go on, I want to write an equivalent equation. An equivalent equation is Sam has, I'm going to leave a spot here, plus 5. What is B equal to? What could I replace B with? Look up above in the first equation. What's B equal to? 3A. These are equivalent equations, both representing what Sam has. And together, Bob plus Amy plus Sam equals $75. We're going to get to the question of how much Amy has in just a second. So I'm going to start with Bob. Bob has 3A. Then I go to Amy. Amy contains her own money. Now notice I'm using A's. It's working out that I'm using A's in this equation, so I want to continue that. My last one is Sam. If I put B plus 5, that's not incorrect, but it doesn't contain an A. So I'm going to use this equation instead. Sam is 3A plus 5. There's Bob, Amy, and Sam, and together they equal $75. Silently, I'm going to solve for A. I'd like you to do the same. I solved and received an answer of A equals 10. Then I went back to the question, how much money does Amy have? Well, A equals 10. What if they would have said, how much does Bob have? Well, if A equals 10, we would say Bob has 30. What if they asked for Sam? Well, if A again equals 10, 3 times 10 is 30, plus 5, Sam would have 35. You do not have space. I forgot to build in space, but if you see a room here that you could do the work, that would work as well. 1 second. I'm going to flip this up here. Give me 1 second, okay? Here is your last one that I would like you to attempt to do on your own. And I'll read it to you in case you can't see it. Susanna, so just find any space to do it, has twice as much money as Maria has. And Karen has one more than 3 times what Maria has. Susanna, Maria, and Karen have a total of $25. How much money does Karen have? Does anybody have an answer? No, I didn't give you a full. Wow, I'm going to come by and check real quick. Remember, halves means equal. I can't write on this, so I'm going to flip over to the lined piece of paper, and I want to make sure I get through this problem before the bell rings. So the first one says, let me flip back here. It says, Susanna, can you read? Does anybody have it? Let me go back and forth, and I'm sorry for this. Susanna has twice as much money as Maria. So I'm going to write Susanna has twice as much as Maria. Can you raise your hand just so I know if we're understanding? Anybody have this on your paper to start with? Okay, about a third of us. And then it says, Karen has one more than 3 times Maria. Karen has is equals, one more than 3 times Maria. Karen has one more than 3 times Maria. Now altogether they have $25. So Karen plus Susan plus Maria has 25. I'm going to replace Susan with 2M, Karen with 3M plus 1, and Maria's by herself to equals 25. I'm going to silently solve this while you do the same. if this was a quiz and you said the answer is 4, turn to your partner, why would you be wrong? Look up here. Why is the answer not 4? I did the math. I think my math is right, but why is the final answer not 4? The question says, how much money does Karen have? How much money does Karen have? So we just solved for Maria. So to find Karen, I plug back in 4. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Karen has $13.